Aye. Well, thanks very much for all your questions that have come in, and we want to grill the members of Parliament to make sure that we're getting the right ones and that they hear what our grievances are. So, Nick Monsoro, I really appreciate you coming and give us your time. I know it's valuable to this run up to the election.
I appreciate it.
But I'd like to grill you. We've got a lot of
Absolutely.
questions here from our members, and it all centres around jobs. They're concerned that they've got a lot of children that leave uni and can't get a job. They're concerned that I think the figures are 6 people in 100 in Queensland don't have a job. So what will you be doing to help the people they know get a job?
Well, that's a very important question because in Moreton, in this community, jobs is actually the number one issue. So it's jobs and economic stability, and that's why our plan federally and what we want to translate into Moreton is about jobs and growth. Now, we talk about 6% as the state average. Well, in Moreton, we have youth unemployment even higher than that. Now, Moreton is a very multicultural, a very diverse electorate. It's the second most multicultural in the country, the first most and the most multicultural in the state, and the surrounding areas very strong, which also means that it has a high proportion of small business. And small business is the number one employer. So about 70% of all the working population of Moreton work in and around small business. So if small business is suffering, then employment is suffering. So in order to create, to stimulate jobs, we've got to stimulate the economy. Okay, government doesn't create jobs. Government creates the opportunity through developing the economy and putting the enablers, putting the circumstances in place for small, medium and large business, but predominantly small business, to actually take advantage and grow. That will create jobs.
How many small businesses are there in Queensland?
Well, there's just over 400,000, so you're talking about,
Significant.
effectively 10% of the population equates to small business. Now, when I say 10% of the population, it's actually a larger, majority of the working population that work in small business. But if we look at that proportion locally, once again, Moreton, not just because of the multicultural aspect, but also the diversity in terms of our commercial, industrial and business centres in Moreton, it actually has one of the highest proportions of small business per capita. There are over almost 25,000 small businesses in Moreton.
Wow.
Yes, and they are the big employer and they are the big driver of economic development.
Well, our members in Moreton obviously need a job to be able to raise a loan to get investment property because they don't want to be on a pension, so we want to help the taxpayer by not being on the pension. And so job security is a big one for them. We were looking at infrastructure spend was going to be the big saviour for Queensland. That seems to have been stalled. So what are the other alternatives if you don't go to small business?
Well, look, infrastructure is very important. It is a key issue. It's not the number one issue, but still a key issue in Moreton. The state government doesn't have any money. The state government is not investing in infrastructure, which is one of the stimuli for economic development and jobs. The federal government is investing in infrastructure. That is a key deliverable. We've outlined 200 million for the Oxley to Darra upgrade of the Ipswich motorway. We're looking at other infrastructure projects in Moreton, but that's not going to be the only driving factor. We need to stimulate the number one employer, which is small business. Small business and the domestic investors, so mums and dad investors, that's what's going to drive this economy. So we need to give small business the tax and business reforms needed to do what they do well. Develop, grow their business, which in turn will develop and grow jobs, which in turn will develop and grow the economy and this community.